what made you decide to start running your own business or join startups in the early stage and help them scale and grow?
The biggest thing for anybody who's looking to do a business or starting a business is to really ask yourself, do I
Okay.
like making decisions? Do I like taking the risk? Do I like having the exposure of a business?
Say, I love that the kind of internal fire of knowing that you personally believe you could do better compared to someone else.
When you work for a small startup company, it's all you. There's nobody else to look for. There's nobody else to bounce your ideas off.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ambition Circuit. Today, we are going to be talking about college, cash, and the climb with our guest, Mr. Atul Raj. Mr. Raj, I'm going to hand it over to you now so you can give all of our viewers a brief kind of history or profile on yourself.
Thanks, Vedant. First and foremost, thanks for having me. It's always exciting to talk to you in any format or any platform, especially this one. I'm curious to know how you're going to use this platform for benefiting your experience, leveraging your experience, and just in general trying to spread the good word. So thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for taking the time to be here. It truly means a lot.
Yeah, just a quick summary of myself. I am a professional, have been a working professional for close to 30 years, have a background in both engineering and in finance, uh, college degrees in both those disciplines, and working in Fortune 100 to startup companies over the last 25, 30 years, just getting a lot of experience in operations, finance, just in general management of how to run a fast scaling, fast operation startup business or a well established business. A lot of my experience has been in the media communication and media distribution business, and also in the last few years in renewable industry and also in logistics. Most
Awesome.
of my work profile has been in operations, so very heavy experience in logistics, operations, supply chain, operations, finance, in general, how to build a business, how to scale a business from startup stage to a mid-income business or a middle group business to a large business. What kind of steps you need to take to build that infrastructure and scale.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, I mean, that pretty much takes us through the first question about your career journey. Um, I would also then like to ask, really, what made you decide to start running your own business or join startups in the early stage and help them scale and grow?
Yeah, that's a great question because it kind of touches on your personality and what you want to do with your personality and your desire.
Hmm.
The biggest thing for anybody who's looking to do a business or starting a business is to really ask yourself, do I have the mindset to be an entrepreneur? Do I
Okay.
like making decisions? Do I like taking the risk? Do I like having the exposure of a business? And those are the questions everybody has to answer for themselves. It doesn't fit everybody's personality. But when I was working for other companies for the first 20 years of my life, there were a lot of instances where I thought I could have done a better job of managing that business compared to the leaders who were running that business.
Okay.
There were a lot of instances where the decision making was flawed or the risk taking was not appropriate. The businesses could have benefited more if the leadership was open to taking more risk or making decisions to fast forward the business. Also, sometimes I felt like the leadership was not looking to change as much
Okay.
as the business is changing or the world is changing. So I think a lot of my attitude and my mindset got shaped in those 15, 20 years of the first of my career, where I got the opportunity to work with some really good leaders also, and I
Hmm.
learned a lot from them. Some of them really challenged me to think outside the box, think about every single possibility in a business, or every scenario that is possible in every instance. And sometimes as a manager or a senior leader, you don't think about those things. But I definitely had a chance to work with some leaders who challenged me helped me grow, become more visionary when it comes to making decisions. So that shaped my mindset that, hey, I have learned a lot, and at some point I want to use my learning for my own benefit instead of trying to just continue making benefit for other people. When you're working as as an employee somewhere else,
Yeah,
all you're doing is you're adding value to somebody else's business, right? Which is not a bad thing because you also get compensated for it, but you don't get as much compensation as your value add could be. It's never
yeah.
proportional, right? So I was getting to the point where I was itching to, hey, I want to do something different. I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of knowledge, and I think I'm ready to use that for my own benefit or to bring value to myself or make something that will bring value to others at this point, which and at the same time maximizing my own value. So that's
And I
when,
mean,
sorry, go ahead.
I yeah, I was gonna say I love that the kind of internal fire of knowing that you personally believe you could do better compared to someone else. And I think it's very cool that you kind of capitalized on that and turned that into something that gives you more value than you honestly would have gotten just being compensated for providing someone else even more value.
Right. So when I left those corporate jobs, I opted to actually work for a startup company.
Hmm.
So because I felt like that's where the biggest test will be for me. I've worked in large companies before, very large corporations. You're talking about the you know Fortune 100 type of
Yeah,
companies, and in those companies you're protected a lot from decision making ability. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy. That the
yeah,
multiple levels of decision making. So you're not really testing yourself as you want to. When you work for a small startup company, it's all you. There's nobody else to look for. There's nobody else to bounce your ideas off. You have to go with your gut. You have to make a
with your gut.
decision. And that's where I felt my best opportunity would be. So I took the opportunity to work for a startup solar company
Uh-huh.
back in 2014. And we basically built that business from nothing. I mean, we had like 5 people start the business.
Yeah.
In within 2 years, we built it like $25 million business.
Wow, that's
We,
awesome.
yeah, and we were able to sell that in 2016, and then I joined another very small company to help them grow. The
Yeah.
year I joined that company, their annual revenue was like $5 million.
Uh-huh.
In 7 years, we have grown that business to about $120 million revenue. So
Wow,
it's
that's
it's
amazing.
yeah, it's so it gives you a lot of satisfaction to actually use your experience and your learning into building something that you feel like this is mine, right? So you're not just adding value to the business, but also you feel like you accomplished something, you achieved something.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool that you're talking about the kind of internal satisfaction or internal intrinsic motivation, I would call it, that you get from these career developments. Because I feel like personally, when I talk to other people in my generation from Gen Z, there's always a feeling, and I mean, again, those of us in Gen Z who or the majority of us in Gen Z have either just entered the workforce or we're just going into college. And so there's not much experience they're speaking from. But when I do talk to those people, a lot of their discussions and their mental frameworks for how they analyze their career isn't really so much about internal fulfillment as it is external compensation and monetary compensation. And so I do think it's really cool to see people still do look at careers from what you can gain out of it, not just monetarily, but how it can kind of power your brain and how it can make you feel about, your general skill set.
Yeah, I mean, average human being tends to gravitate towards comfort,
Hmm.
easy
Which is
decision.
just nature.
That's just nature, right? Doing uncomfortable things requires hard work,
Yeah.
and taking risk is even more harder, right? Getting a job is the easy solution, right? It's an easy solution, and there's nothing wrong with that. You do
Yeah.
need 90% of the people just to do that. Otherwise, the system won't
Yeah.
work.
Not everyone can start a business. Yeah.
Even if they could, the system won't work, right? Because
Hmm.
it requires people. There's certain individuals to just be employees. Otherwise, it won't work. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can run my business if I don't have employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's okay. It's just a matter of what you get out of it if you're an employer versus an employee.
And I mean, I was looking at your LinkedIn and I noticed that there were, times where you were kind of balancing multiple roles. And so, how do you stay organized and manage your work-life balance, manage your stress when you're juggling multiple positions and especially high-level positions?
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's not just different positions. You also have to wear multiple hats anytime you're in a leadership role. Like right now, I have to talk to salespeople, so I have to wear different hat when I'm speaking to salespeople. I have talked to technology people. I have to have a different mode when I'm talking technology.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm talking to frontline employees, and you have to have a totally different mode when you're speaking to frontline employees. I'm speaking to finance people, and again, you need a different mode to talk to
yeah.
them.
I mean, it's
It's
almost
just
like speaking with four different languages, kind of.
correct, correct. Everybody has different priorities.
Yeah,
Sales doesn't care what operation needs; they just want to sell, and
sell.
they
Yeah,
need anything, everything removed from their selling process that can hinder their sales process. Operations people want us to be careful. They want it to be selective. They want it to be logical. That
yeah,
don't sell anything. Sell something that we can fulfill.
yeah,
So it's always a constant balancing act. We have to wear as a leadership, because if you don't have that balance, then you will make more mistakes for the business. And I've seen that many a time that a sales centric person becomes a leader and the business gravitates to more towards selling, but
selling
they
then
kind of
fulfilling.
ignore the operations and fulfillment and the finance part.
Yeah,
Or vice versa, if somebody becomes like operationally strong person becomes a leader, and they focus a lot on operations, fulfillment, finance, but they tend to lag on entrepreneurship and selling. Selling is
yeah.
still very entrepreneurial, right? So I think a good balance is required. How do I prioritize my time? It's so my I will give you two messages. One, no procrastination.
Of course.
If something comes in your queue, attack it, get it done right away. I've seen that if I procrastinate, I typically will get more stressed about it as the time approaches.
Because you're closer to the deadline.
I just try to get things out of my inbox as soon as it hits it. So I try not to procrastinate at all. Second, learn how to make quick decisions. This
Mhm.
comes with time and territory. School is a great place to learn. In my opinion, school is the best opportunity to prepare for life, because all school does is it teaches you how to learn faster.
Yeah,
Because you learn a lot of books, you read a lot of material, you you write a lot of stuff, you look at a lot of stuff, and you have to condense all that, synthesize all that into smaller details. It teaches you structure, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you how to get up on time, how to do laundry, how to go to class,
yeah,
do homework. All those things are essential when you get into professional life, because it teaches you how to become more well managed, well rounded person.
well-rounded. Yeah, and
It's
it's
not
it's
just
cool you
about
mentioned that. Sorry,
the
but
yeah, the books are great, right? But at the end of the
yeah,
day, school just teaches you on how to learn faster.
I agree, and it that speaks to the thing on modes that you were saying earlier on how the salesperson doesn't care what's going on in operations, operations doesn't care what's going on in finance, and in the same manner, your history teacher doesn't care what your English teacher is doing, your math teacher doesn't care what your history teacher is doing, and so I think it's a good parallel about kind of having separate mental frameworks and being able to balance them all.
Very true, very true. So yeah, and you are the one who's the central figure. So you have to kind of manage everybody's expectation.
Manage it. Yeah,
Yeah. So I was saying that no procrastination and faster decision making. Don't get over analytical. Don't get paralyzed by data. Don't just keep looking for more and more data. There will be a point where you have to make a decision. And I've seen leadership completely get bogged down with over analysis, and I've seen leadership make mistakes by making decisions with very little data also. So you have to find the right balance for your business as to how much is too much or how little is too little, and then
mm,
use that to make decisions. If you make 100 decisions, there's going to be a few that will be bad. There will be a few that
of
will be
course.
average. There will be a few that will be great. And you just have to learn with that. You just have to live with that and continue making those choices, because your teams, your business, your people are looking up to you for making those fast decisions, because the longer you take, the more it bogs down the business. So again, go back to my two advices: no procrastination, make faster decisions.
Makes best decisions. That's cool. And then again, I want to ask you about, you mentioned, a lot of times what you see in startups is, or at least younger startup founders, someone coming from a sales team, when they open their startup, they tend to gravitate it more towards sales and put operations and finance and those things on the back burner. So, what's your advice in that situation? How do you prevent your personal bias from what you used to do from coming into your startup so that you can make all aspects of the team well rounded?
This is a very typical challenge in most of the startup and small entrepreneurs. There's more companies fail going from 10 million to $100 million scale because the businesses are not equipped to handle that scale and growth.
That scaling. Okay.
So the biggest advice I will give is early on, find people who are complementary to your skills. So if you're strong in sales or technology or customer, find people who will complement you on other facets of the business and
Okay.
bring them onto your team. As soon as you can afford to, or bring them under partnership, equity, whatever. But that will make the team stronger because you'll have different voices, different competencies, all helping you make right decisions.
Make right decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very important, and this is very difficult for entrepreneurs to be able to listen to others.
Yeah.
This is because it completely goes against their own mindset and philosophy, right? If you cannot be an entrepreneur unless you have an ego,
Yeah.
and to break that ego, that yeah, I don't know everything about everything, I'm willing to listen to somebody else, that's very difficult for most entrepreneurs. So that's where the scaling from 10 to $1 million fails, because they don't bring in enough people that they trust or they will listen to.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard stories of that and seen that from founders who on LinkedIn, were talking about their failed startups and then what kind of led them to now have to take another desk job.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously it sounds like you have a lot of experience. So then on that note, what's something about business or leadership, kind of like a hard but necessary lesson that you had to learn out of experience that you think is really important for younger Gen Z people to know before they enter the workforce?
First of all, younger people, my advice always is to get well rounded, get good education. Good education, I don't mean that you have to go to top school or you
Yeah.
have to go to, like, some elite school. Good education means, you, like I said before, you have the ability to learn faster if you are educated, because you will be able to juggle multiple things, have structure in your life, have discipline in life, and be able to reproduce that knowledge, right? That's what the college or the school test teaches you. So very important to have that basic framework in your personality. Second piece is, there will be many opportunities that will come to you,
Uh-huh.
and it's really up to you to see what really excites me and what is like, I'm not sure if that's really something I want to do.
Yeah.
But if something excites you, go all heart into it. Go all in into it. Try it to the best, fullest of your ability. You may not be able to succeed, or you may become really successful. But if you are doing something that you got excited about, I think there are more chances of you being fulfilled mentally and emotionally. May not work out financially all the
Yeah.
time, but I think all those boxes need to be ticked.
Be
If you want
checked.
to be, yeah, if you want to be good business person, or if you want to start your own business, it has to give you fulfillment emotionally, mentally, culturally, and of course financially, right? But
And I mean,
sometimes, sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
that's the best part about being Gen Z right now, right? And just starting our career is that, you have time on your side and you have time to experiment. You have time to start a business. And even if it fails, you have a backup net of time allowing you to do something that at least financially fulfills you. And so
Yeah,
I
the
do think
failure
it's
will teach
cool.
you. Failure is not a bad thing, because you will learn
Yeah.
from it. It'll teach you different things about different things. So I have made many decisions in my life, which looking back, I was said, I don't know why I did that, but that's how you learn, right?
But that's how you learn. I
Yeah, that's,
agree. I agree.
whether it's hiring people or making business decisions or making strategic decisions. I mean, last year we made a decision in one of our businesses, and it's still hurting us. It has cost us about $10 million so far, and
Wow.
But that seemed like
But
the right.
that's what they say. Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah,
So
that was the right decision to make at that point. But now
yeah,
looking, it's like, maybe I should have done something different.
something different. Okay. But I mean, again, just to boil it down to the end, your advice on all facets would be, don't procrastinate in any asset of life, any facet of life, and keep track of your assets at all point throughout. So, like, when you're young, keep track of your time. When you're older, keep track of your money and how you're using it. And also, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to make decisions, but also know how to make quick decisions and not let time run out and work against your favor.
Yeah, and that the last piece is very important because the longer you wait, the opportunity will keep slipping away.
Keep slipping away. I
Yeah.
agree.
And look, you will try many things in your life as a young person. Next 10 years is all about learning. I segment the life in basically three parts. When
Uh-huh.
you're from 20 to like 40, it's about learning. Find opportunities where
Wow.
it gives you the most learning opportunity, whether it's doing a job, whether it's starting a business, just doing anything in life. You're learning, you're adding to your skills. 40 to 55 is your peak learning time. Sorry, peak earning time, not learning.
Earning time. Yeah.
So learning 20 to 40, earning 40 to 55 is your peak earning time where you can maximize your earnings. Most likely you will not be learning a whole lot in that period, but whatever you've learned, you will be leveraging that in that age, in that 40 to 55 age group. And then 55 onwards, you basically will start having fun with everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's very important to kind of think of it as a balancing act, that you also
Yeah.
have to have fun. I'm not saying you don't have fun between 20 and 55. You will have fun, but your priority is learning,
Is
earning,
learning and earning.
get to the point where you can actually enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's pretty cool because I mean, again, everyone's years and how they divide time is different, but I've never quite heard anyone define 20 to 40 as peak learning years. It's always, maybe from when you're young until when you're 25, you should be learning. And then after that is when you need to be kind of grinding out and earning. And so I think it's cool that you're kind of portraying it in a way that we should be comfortable learning for a little bit longer and then maximizing the potential we get from that later on.
Yeah, you will not, the learning. I mean, it's a different type of learning, right? When you're in school, you're
Oh yeah,
learning.
yeah, I agree.
But I'm
Not
talking about
not
life
like studying
learning.
with a paper and a pen.
Right. I'm talking about life learning, learning as a professional, learning
Yeah,
different parts of businesses, learning human behavior. More importantly, when you're running a business, one of the most ignored things is human behavior. How do you learn human behavior? How humans act, react to things? How do you leverage that once you know how to
mhm,
emotionally kind of work with people with different emotions, different thinking? And as a leader, most people struggle with that they get bogged down with people with emotional issues or cultural issues. So how
yeah,
do you navigate that? How do you leverage that? That you will only learn when you start working. Nobody teaches that in school.
yeah. Because it's hard to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I learned the hard way. I mean, I struggled early on when I came out of school. Your mind is more technical, more logical, because that's all my education was.
yeah,
So everything you think in terms of numbers and senses. Well, people don't work in numbers and senses.
yeah.
People work on emotions, on logic or illogic sometimes. And I learned the hard way that you have to adjust to people, not necessarily just numbers.
Well, you know what? That's cool. And that's a lot of good advice. So I would like to thank you for that. And again, thank you for giving your time to the Ambition Circuit and being here today. It does mean a lot. And with
Tell
that, we
me,
will.
tell me about yourself. How are you planning to use this podcast or this platform? What's your intent?
So, you know what? That's a great question because I had to put a lot of thought into that before I started the podcast because
Right.
I didn't want the podcast, the Ambition Circuit, to be just another one of those, call someone for 20, 30 minutes, have a conversation, and then don't make anything meaningful out of it. And I hope you could kind of tell with the way I was structuring the questions, I wasn't only asking about your experience, but I was gearing it towards how that works for different ages and what that means for younger people in terms of how they should use it. And so I'm planning on using all of this information with you and all of my other guests that I plan to have and some that I have had. And I want to use it to combine the advice and to put myself in the best way possible when I start my career. Because again, there is no, set path or set steps to becoming successful, becoming wealthy, becoming healthy. But I do think by kind of analyzing how different people did it, I can not necessarily construct a formula, but kind of recognize a pattern that would be a good idea to follow. And that's truly what I'm aiming to get out of the podcast.
Yeah, you're right. So it doesn't matter what path you take. The basic ingredients do not change.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of figure out what those basic ingredients are, and then you can take any path you want. But those basic ingredients will help you throughout.
And that's what I hope to do with the podcast is to find, the secret ingredients in the sauce to, make the pasta of life more well-rounded.
There's no secret, Vedansh. It's all about, just, like I said, learning, hard work, observing, and making decisions. There's no secret.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us and joining us today. And with that, we will conclude another episode of the Ambition Circuit. So goodbye to all our viewers and listeners, and thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.